So there are lots of ways to add value. Sometimes it could be something as, I had a downtown building which had a lobby with a gym, but there was really no communal space. But there was one wall in front of the elevator that, that everybody had to walk by. And it used to be where they would just throw packages from deliveries on the ground. So we built a little package station, and then we brought in a company who normally does break rooms for companies. And they set up this huge, basically a 7-Eleven wall on this of the building.
Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Real Estate Pros Podcast. I'm your host, Erika, and today I'm excited to be chatting with Craig Marquardo. He is the VP of multifamily at VCS. Craig, I'm so glad to have you on the show today.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice meeting you too. I want to dive in today, Craig, and, share for our, listeners to tell us more about your world. What was it like getting into real estate? And, what made you interested in the property management side?
I was in other industries 30, 35 years ago. I was in the movie business. I was in some other things. And I had a friend of mine who was a lead principal partner on an investment property that they bought. And it was a 2,000 unit property that had some mixed commercial with 2,000 units. And after a lot of discussion, decided that I'd manage the property for them. And of course, I'd never managed a property, but I've run a lot of businesses. And so I ran the property like a business. And this is pre-internet, pre-software, pre-systems, pre all the things. And so things were a little simpler and more complicated back then. And it was highly successful. We did, incredible numbers. And eventually, after a few years, sold the property and everybody moved on. And I thought that was the end of my management career. And then little by little, through communication and relationships, had private owners, have conversations. And I'm like, well, I did do this one thing this one time. And they're like, oh my God, you'd really be helping me out. And then I started managing properties, multifamily properties for private owners, and did that for a number of years. And then eventually I was in Scappoose, Oregon, and I had one property that I had in my sort of back pocket that I'd run in the background for about 11 years. And there was a property for, let's just call it one of the big four management companies had across town. And I knew that they would have a hard time finding someone to be able to come out to this somewhat remote location to manage this property. And so I offered to manage it for them. And they were thrilled, and they said, that'd be great. And then, so I managed mine, I managed theirs, and then they gave me like 4 or 5 others. And from that point, I had worked for other management companies, which was a much different experience, of course, because now I'm working with, high level property management software. I'm working within, large corporate structures. I'm working with, theoretically large management teams, even though you're only in communication with so many of them. And I was thoroughly disappointed. The mistakes that I saw the companies making, let's call it
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
Slight deception, how they would report things to the owners, the lack of personal relationships that they would develop with their owners. It was, and the nickel and diming that they would charge, that I thought was just, unacceptable. And then moving from one company to another over the years, different companies had different problems. Some people didn't have problem X, but they had problem Y, and all of them shared this issue. And so after, a number of years of that, a couple of years ago, I was ready to start my own management company with someone I had worked with for years. And a couple of weeks before we made the decision, I got a phone call from VCS recruiting me, asking me if I'm interested. And I said politely, no, thank you. I think I turned him down 4 times. And then finally took a meeting, and he basically offered me the opportunity to run my management company through VCS, which of course, makes life easier when you don't have to worry about all the, back end things. And my owner, which is Vinny Small, his background is in commercial real estate, and obviously mine's multifamily, and, together it's a great team. We also, in addition to all the commercial properties we manage, we also have things like marinas and, and other types of odd businesses. So we cover a bit of the spectrum. And then there's also properties that have mixed commercial and residential that we split. I'm like, okay, you're taking the downtown, commercial client, I'll handle everybody else. Um, and we've done a lot of growth in that time. We've, taken on, dozens and dozens of properties during that time. We've only lost one. We lost 2 due to sales of, they sold the property and, they've self-managed, but only one genuine loss of a property. And yet we've, increased our portfolio exponentially, which has been fantastic. And so I would say it's honestly the first time in the last couple of years that I have felt like we didn't have to make any excuses for either the work that we had to turn in or for the way our company was treating the client. And that's refreshing.
Yeah, absolutely. And how satisfying it must be to know that you're offering that level of service there. Craig, tell us more about the markets that you're operating in, and what kind of challenges and opportunities you see.
Well, we're on the West Coast, so we're mostly Oregon, but we also handle Washington, California. We can handle Idaho and whatnot, although we don't have properties there yet. And I mean, the challenges, obviously, we're just a couple of years out of COVID. So there are still lingering laws that are being changed on a routine basis. Plus, as a good example, in Portland, Oregon, you have federal law, you have state law, you have the county law, and then you have the city that has its own restrictions and regulations on various things. And that's not common. That wasn't the case beforehand, not to the degree that it was before COVID. And now that's starting to loosen up and things are getting a little more normal. But it's been a lot more to keep track of, and some things are here to stay. Some things are going back the way they were, so it's adapting to the new normal.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
And as far as opportunities, we're always looking to grow as a company. But one of the things that we've been involved in lately is that, normally when an investor or a developer or a architect is building a new building or designing a new building, management company is not thought of until it's time for the lease up. And by then, it's too late for us to fix any of the mistakes that were made or the problems that were had. So we've been brought in on a couple of projects early on in the development phase. And, there were a lot of mistakes that we found in the design plans. Where's your, maintenance garage? Where's your leasing office? Where is your common areas? Where are your amenities? Why is this random parking lot extending out into nowhere? Why does this not have that? All the little things. Why, you can get more value, where there's more value. For example, should you have a laundry room or washer dryer in the unit? Should it be an up down unit or a side by side? Should that washer and dryer be in a closet, or should it have a larger laundry room to service and whatnot? We have this beautiful building here nearby that uh, is fairly easy to rent. It's gorgeous. It's a newer build. The problem is the bedrooms are too small. You can't fit a king size bed in the bedroom, and most people, couples, whatever else, have a king size bed. And I don't know many couples who sleep on a full size. And a queen will fit, but it makes it a little tight. But the units are so beautiful, they make it work anyway, thankfully for us. But that would have been part of my first conversation, that your square footage in the bedroom is too small. It's going to make it unrentable, or at least less rentable. And really our job is, among many other things, is in that phase is to find all the obstacles to a yes from a renter, as well as finding the most value in the property.
And let's say you're in that situation where, you're dealing with this property and it's too late. So how do you compensate? How do you add value? How do you draw people in?
So there are lots of ways to add value. Sometimes it could be something as, have few properties that have unheated swimming pools. So maybe the conversation needs to be adding a heater to the pool. Although I've never met a property owner with a pool who wouldn't love to just fill it in with dirt, because they do tend to get expensive. But you could put a pool heater in. You could add value in large ways like that. You could build things, playgrounds and whatever else. But there's also small touches. So for example, I had a downtown building which had a lobby with a gym, but there was really no communal space. But there was one wall in front of the elevator that everybody had to walk by. And it used to be where they would just throw packages from deliveries on the ground. So we built a little package station, and then we brought in a company who normally does break rooms for companies. And they set up this huge, basically a 7-Eleven wall on of the building. And we didn't make any money from it. It wasn't designed to be a profit center, but it was everything from drinks and sodas and sandwiches to, I don't know. There was energy drinks and um frozen meals and mac and cheese and candy bars and all the things. And these were like 7-Eleven prices. They weren't cheap. But I just put a 7-Eleven in your lobby. So we weren't sure how well it was going to work out. And then I think it was the second Monday. And the way it works is neat, is because a tenant can pre-register, like put a card in and then use your fingerprint. And so the fingerprint is attached to your card. So you walk up, you grab what you want, scan it with your fingerprint, and go up to your apartment. By the second Monday, the shelves were empty.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
And every week thereafter, the shelves kept emptying out and emptying out. I'm like, well, clearly it's working. They're enjoying it. And it was a small thing that we did. Again, we didn't benefit directly from it. But it didn't cost us anything to bring them in, and we didn't make anything from it. But it contributed heavily to not only tenant happiness, but tenant retention. Also adds value to the building, which means that we can raise rents. and, things of that nature. Because, you don't always have I mean, when something's already done, the space is accounted for. We can't just put a gym somewhere randomly if there wasn't space for it in the first place. So using what you have is super important. And that's also where community events come in handy. And I preach this often where, depending on the size of your property, I've had properties where we'll do giant community garage sales. I own an inflatable movie screen that I keep in my garage that I bring to properties, and we do outdoor movie nights. But there's not always space for that at every property. The reason community events are important, more important than just for the obvious, I have tenants, we've done polls in the past, and almost to a tenant, they will all tell you that they love the community events. And then in parentheses, even though I never got to attend any of them because I was working, but they love that their property had community events. It's like living on the beach, even if you never really get to go to the beach.
Yeah.
You love that it's there if you wanted to. It's like having a gym membership and you never quite make it to the gym, but it's good to know I can go anytime I want. And what that does is it shows that you give a damn, and that goes a long way with tenants because often tenants view ownership and management as a one-sided relationship that we're always taking. We're taking your rent, we're enforcing rules, we're making you do this and making it, and not a lot of giving back. And so those community events go a long way in evening out that relationship, at least psychologically for the tenant.
Yeah. And with with all those successes, leads me to ask what is next on the horizon? You're already accomplishing a lot there.
I mean, growth is always the goal, smart, measured growth. We're one of the few management companies that will say no to a client, which never, ever happens at any other management company. No one says no to business, and it's like, we'll figure it out. And I mean, there's a property in particular I know this management company took over. I think it's been 7 months. They still haven't found a full-time manager for the property. They're still just, they're winging it. And it can be done, but it's not effective management, and that's certainly not what the owner signed up for. So, we're looking to do measured growth, and like I said, with getting involved with some of the developers early on in builds, it doesn't necessarily open up a new business because obviously they were going to hire somebody when it came time to lease up, but it does put us in a different perspective of being experts in the field to be able to contribute in different ways other than just managing your property after it's ready to lease up. So that's been exciting. But overall, I mean, we're just trying to become an example, a positive example in the industry, as opposed to becoming someone's tragic story of the management company that they got rid of because of all these problems. We're trying to, balance that out a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, and with the service and innovation that you guys are bringing, that's really exciting, and to see where you'll go next, Craig.
Well, it really does matter about your approach. The relationships that you have with your owners is everything. And oftentimes that relationship becomes very professional and cordial, which is nothing wrong with that. But my owners, I have incredible relationships with. Many of them I'm friends with now when I didn't know them at all before. And, it's not just that we talk about wives and kids when we talk kind of thing. It's more that they appreciate being plain spoken to about their investment. They spent millions of dollars. The last thing they want to do is be gassed on when it comes to, oh, everything's doing great. No, they want to know exactly what's happening and how we're going to deal with the problem and what the solution is and how we'll work together, because that is the nature of what makes what we do work so well. Is because if you, as an investor and owner, this is a partnership between you and I. We are managing this property together. Yes, I'm doing the work, but we're applying your long-term or short-term goals. For example, somebody who's going to have a legacy property that they intend to give their grandchildren, I will manage entirely different than a property that we're going to flip in 2 years. And so the strategies are very different for both. And the way you apply, everything from rent increases to renewals to advertising, the type of expenses, the long-term investments, the capital improvements, all that gets taken into account, and those decisions get made along that basis. And then at the same time, I train my staff to look at their job a little differently from a different lens, as opposed to, even though their title is property managers, I asked them, what does that mean? And they, well, we rent apartments and we do so. I'm like, okay, but really who you are is you're managing someone else's business. In fact, you are managing someone else's investment. So you are more of a business manager or an investment manager. And if that's the case, if you put that lens on, the decisions that you'll make over the course of a year will vastly change and how you approach both financial and non-financial problems. And owners appreciate that because that's really what they're trying to hire is you're managing their investment that causes a panic for them. It's a little like, trusting a babysitter to leave your children with. You don't just leave them with anybody. And often, like regular relationships, if you've been burned enough by previous management companies or previous babysitters who let your kid run around in the rain, then you're going to be super cautious, which means that the first, months to years of my relationship with these owners is about earning and building their trust that we're not going to be like the other guy. And that's a challenge, but I feel it's a worthwhile endeavor or we wouldn't be here.
Yeah, yeah, and Craig, I think that the effort that you put into this really shows, and because of that, I'm sure there's someone out here that's gonna wanna reach out, connect, learn more, and, how can they reach you?
You can go through our website, which is vcs-pm.com, or you can email me at craig@vcs-pm.com. And yeah, I mean, we're always looking for new relationships, not just new business.
Yeah, yeah, that's, excellent. Well, Craig, I appreciate your time, your story, and your perspective. What you guys are doing at VCS is something to be proud of.
Thank you so much.
And for our listeners here, if you got value from this episode, make sure that you're subscribed to the Real Estate Pros podcast. We've got more conversations lined up with pros like Craig who are out there building fantastic real estate businesses. We'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.